Do you have a favorite story about somebody whose life was really positively affected by tapping?
Okay, I'll tell you this one. There was this young girl who was driving her car, she was a teenager, and she got in a car accident and she was trapped in the car. It took them like an hour to get her out of the car by the time the rescue people came and all that. At that point, she was okay because the brain had shot her a lot of adrenaline and cortisol. That's what the brain does to numb you out. But then within 24 hours, she couldn't get out of bed. She couldn't move. And this went on for 10 weeks. Her parents had to carry her down the stairs to go to the doctor. They had to do all this stuff. She couldn't move. Her body was frozen. So she comes to see me, and I had her work through the accident, like what happened, then what happened. And we kept doing tapping and we kept doing tapping until we got to the end of the accident. And she was in her bed. We were actually doing a Zoom call. And it was clear. It was over. The accident was over. She could tell it was over. She wasn't in it anymore. She could remember it happened, but she wasn't in it. And I said to her, okay, get up, walk, let's see if you can get out of bed. She got out of bed and walked across the room. She was like blown out of the water. She was like, oh my God. She said she went into her sister's room and her sister thought she saw a ghost because this girl had not gotten out of bed. She could not move her body. It was frozen. That's how this stuff works. And it's super powerful. I know more now why it works because I know more about the brain and how the brain freezes when you're in a car accident or when you're in a scary situation. I know more about that. We just got to get it started again to know that she's safe now because part of her was stuck in the accident. So that was a pretty traumatic one. I love them when they're like that, especially when the body changes like that and the body can work again. You're like, whoa, something happened. But for most people, it's more along the lines of, I can now give a speech. I can now be on the stage. I now can talk to the girl I want to talk to or the guy I want to talk to, or I'm not scared to go to school anymore. I'm not scared of bullies. I just feel more like I have the power.
Incredible. Mary, can you give us a little bit of background in terms of how you got started with tapping?
Yeah, so I was a regular therapist. We call it talk therapist, and maybe some of you guys know if you've been to talk to somebody about things. Sometimes when people would talk about their problems, they got worse. And I couldn't figure that out. And then somebody showed me that we could tap on Chinese meridian points. Like in acupuncture, they have meridian points and they're like energy. Think of like train tracks that bring the energy through your body, okay? I didn't know what that was. I thought it was dumb myself, personally. I didn't. It was back in the 90s too, so that was like a long time ago, 25 some odd years ago. But I found that when somebody was talking, if we tapped on different spots on the meridian points on the body that go with different emotions in Chinese medicine. Like this one here is your stomach meridian. If we can tap on there, oftentimes that anxiety in your stomach, it releases. And then there were other ones and some for anger and some for like when you're really embarrassed. These are for that. And people would calm down and they would get better. And if they were having bad dreams, their bad dreams would go away. Sometimes they wanted to go up and say hello, especially the teenagers I was working with, to that cute girl over there or something. But then they get sweaty palms and they'd be all reacting and they couldn't figure out why. But when we did this with it, then they could do it. And my children were in high school at the time when I was learning this really weird thing, like tapping. Well, that's not talk therapy. But they would do it to play sports or to take a really tough test. They would let me show them how to do it. And then they were calmed down and their whole nervous system quieted down and they could be at the top of their game.
And so you saw it help your clients right away. And what did you experience yourself?
I experienced that I was calmer, that I was less reactive. I still cared about stuff and did everything. In fact, did probably more than before, but just this calmness and I knew no matter what, I could calm myself down. So I really loved it because I don't like anybody telling me what to do. I could do the best I wanted to do or whatever I wanted to do. And if I was afraid to do something, I learned that I could image myself doing it, feel the fear in my body, tap on my meridians and move some eyes around because the eyes are part of your brain. And I could calm down. It was so much easier to give a talk in class or to have a tough conversation that I have to have with someone. I could do it in a much calmer way. And my life got so much easier. People don't even know, how come you're so calm? Why aren't you worried about that? I'm like, because my nervous system is quieted down.
Wow, that to me seems like the ultimate magic, because I find myself shying away from difficult conversations myself. I know the person's not going to hurt me. I know it's best for everybody, but there's that resistance. Tell us a little bit about how tapping works, because it's a little counterintuitive, right? Like your stomach's in knots and you tap here and your stomach feels better.
It's really weird looking, okay? Who cares what I look like? I just want to feel better. At the beginning, we didn't know how it worked. We knew that the meridian points were in alignment with what Chinese medicine teaches. Now, Chinese medicine is very interesting because it's a 5,000-year-old system that has never changed. It's got a specific thing, and there's meridians, which I like to think of meridians like it's a train track that transports the energy through your body. They call it different meridians based on the organ that it goes through, like your gallbladder meridian. And so it's based on that. And Dr. Roger Callahan found that if you were thinking about, for example, if I say to you, think about your mean teacher or something, and you think about that thought, and your body will react. Now, if I say to you, think about your nice girlfriend or whatever, or your best basketball game, your body reacts in a totally different way. So you have to be thinking about what you're upset about, and then you tap on the meridians at the same time. And then there's a part of it, tapping, that sometimes people don't always know about, but there's a part where we move your eyes around. Now, the eyes are a part of your brain on the outside. And oftentimes, let me give you a good example. Say a dog bit you, okay? From that point forward, every time you see a dog, or you even hear a dog, you're going to get a reaction in your body. That's for survival. It says, dog, bad, run, get out of here. And what happens is when you're in a space with a dog or something like that, and it gets triggered like that, if you tap at the same time, your body will quiet down. And then you can decide, oh, this is just this little tiny dog. That thing's not going to bite me. You can use this part of your brain. And the eyes are the part of the brain on the outside. So you're teenagers. So supposing they go and they ask this girl, this guy for a date or something, and she like totally rejects you. You're like embarrassed. You never want to do it again, right? But if we tap that down and we get that quiet, you're going to have the confidence in yourself. Your brain won't react as if this is like the end of the world because she just told you she didn't want to go out with you or something, or said mean things to you. If there's a bully in your school and they say something mean, and now you're like afraid to go to school, that's your brain. It's telling you, no, you're in danger. You're going to get eaten by the tiger. It's protecting you. But if we move your eyes around and we do some tapping, that's over. And then you're able to go in there and be confident again. And so you have the power. The power is in your hands to do it once you learn it. That's what I love about it.
Fantastic. That's so exciting to me. And you can step into these uncomfortable situations, which we all do. And I think especially kids do, right? Because as kids are growing up, everything's unfamiliar. We have so many little fears and little blocks, it seems. And some of them, like you talked about the charging tiger, that is something you really should be afraid of, and see if you can find a tree or get away from that thing, right? But so many things I have these weird fears. I don't even know where they came from. And I know that it's not anything that could possibly hurt me, but it still feels like a block. Can you talk a little bit about this difference between like real and perceived or made up fears?
Yeah. So most things are linked. Okay. So for example, if you're in second grade and you go to read and you make a mistake, and then the whole class laughs at you, or you pee your pants or something, whatever. Okay. The brain will code that. Don't make a mistake again. You always got to be perfect. It codes it. But then, okay, now you're in fifth grade and you're supposed to read in front of the class and you don't really care, but you go to get up there and all of a sudden it reacts again. Why? Because we have a survival brain and it codes things. This is dangerous. Don't look stupid. You got laughed at. To a second grader, that is the end of the world. But if it happens to you now, you say something and make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. But your brain doesn't care. It's wired to keep you safe. And so sometimes it fires when it doesn't even need to fire. Think of like your smoke alarm in your kitchen. Sometimes your oven is dirty, right? But the smoke alarm still goes off. And you can't talk to the smoke alarm. You can't talk to that part of the brain. It's called the amygdala. It just fires. You people figure it out later, whether it's a real fire. That's what our brains are like. Say if you're a little boy and your dad gets mad, he slams the table and scares the living daylights out of you, and it was too much for you as a little boy, then later when you're in a meeting with your boss who just has a little tone to it, you'll find you'll get scared. It goes there. and it's just wired. And you're like a computer that's got a bad program in it. The good news is we can rewire it. We can erase that program and put in a new program. But the problem is you can't. This is why talk therapy wasn't working for me. You can't talk to the smoke alarm. It doesn't care. You could yell at it all day. It's still going off. You got to rewire it. You got to push the button. You got to do something else. And that's the power that each one of us has once we know how to turn off the smoke alarm. And then you put in what you want. And we can reprogram that stuff. So you don't have to carry that all your life. It's magical. And the other big thing for everyone to know is there's nothing wrong with you. We just have these brains that are programmed to keep us alive. And so it recognizes, okay, tiger, run, freeze, shut down, people please, try to make everybody else happy. There's things that the brain can do. We don't need to do that anymore once we reprogram it. Another thing some of your kids might need is say you had something like asthma as when you were little and you can't get your breath. And then now you like lose your breath, but you start to panic, but you think this is really bad. Your mother was all upset. You took her to the hospital. We can reprogram that. Tell the brain, no, I just have a cold. Let the brain know you're safe now. If you're not safe now, don't worry, the brain's going to fire. That's what the brain's supposed to do. We're just trying to clean up the bad programming or the programming you needed then that you don't need now, but it's messing up your life and you can't chill out. That's why oftentimes kids are into drugs and things like that, because it helps your brain chill out. But who wants to do that, man? You wreck your health. You don't have to do that.
Absolutely. This is something I'm excited to get back into as well, because I certainly want to achieve my greater potential. I'm just wondering if you can help us with something that we all have to deal with sometimes, which is telling somebody something that maybe they don't want to hear or having a difficult conversation. Walk us through what you would do to help somebody in that situation.
Okay, so you think of somebody you have to have a difficult conversation with. Got it?
You got it.
Tap into what happens in your body when you even imagine having that conversation.
Yeah, I feel my chest tightening up. I feel my neck tightening up.
Yeah, everything in you is going, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Great. So let's do some tapping for that. So think about it. You would say 0 to 10, how high is the tightening up? 10 means I'm frozen.
Yeah, about a 6 or 7, I would say.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the easiest way to do it. So we'll go down 3 inches and over 3 inches, and you just rub here.
Okay.
A little bit out more. Now you keep your attention where the tension is in the body. Okay. So you don't have to think about what you're doing. You just, wow, man. I think you said you're a 7. Wow. My body is scared. And so you say something like, even though I'm scared to do this, I accept myself. Just accept that my body's having a problem with that. Even though I'm scared to do this, just accept myself. You can't resist something, because if you resist something, it can't be shifted. Now tap here. This is a meridian point right here. Yeah.
And that's your left hand?
Either hand.
Okay.
And you're going to say, now you make an intention statement, because intentions are important. So you're going to say, I'm choosing to release this fear of speaking up.
I'm choosing to release this fear of speaking up.
And then I add to it all the roots and origins of it, because I know it didn't start here. Usually started when you're little in school or with a parent. So you say all the roots and origins of it.
All the roots and origins of it.
And all that it means and does to me.
And all that it means and does to me.
I'm choosing to release this fear of speaking up.
I'm choosing to release this fear of speaking up.
All the roots and origins of it.
All the roots and origins of it.
And all that it means and does to me.
And all that it means and does to me.
I'm choosing to release this fear of speaking up.
I'm choosing to release this fear of speaking up.
All the roots and origins of it.
All the roots and origins of it.
And all that it means and does to me.
All that it means and does to me.
Great. Now we're going to tap on the meridian points. So here is one right here. Yeah. Very good. Side of your eyes, under your eyes. And sometimes when you tap on one will feel a little tender. And if you want, you can stay there longer. Under your nose, under your lip, right here at your collarbone, as if you had a skinny tie on. Yep. Use all 4 of your fingers and tap there. This is your kidney meridian. It's very powerful spot on the body. And take your hands like a fist. You're going to go 4 inches down here. And if you poke around, this one's usually tender. Go back more, like to the side of your body. Your hurts. Yeah. Then under your chest. And then we're going to take all your fingers like a laser, and you're going to tap at the top of your head. And you want to make sure all the fingers are touching, because there's meridian points in all the fingers. Okay. That's the simplest version. So take a breath and go inside and think about having that conversation and what's happening in the body. I think you
Feels
were
totally
7.
different.
What are you at now? Is there any tension there?
No, in fact, I'm even looking forward to having that conversation.
That's it. And those of you that play sports, you know that in sports performance, there's all this research on visualization and the power of visualization, right? You add tapping to visualization, you got it made. You can do anything. Yeah. My son, he would do it. He would do some tapping when he was playing golf. It was the only time he would. He wouldn't do it when he was a teenager because whatever. I don't know. But when I would see him playing golf, and he'd be doing this. It worked. He was a good little golfer. And he did it for his SATs. I forgot about that. And he got an 800 in math. He shocked the whole school. Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
that's a perfect score for any of you who
I'm not
don't
saying he's
know.
not a smart kid. He is, but an 800 in math, nobody expected that. He's in the zone. So meaning his whole brain is clear and he can access the knowledge that is there. So maybe before, without that, he would have been a 700. But because he had that, he could be at the top of his game.
Yeah. I was an athlete in college, played varsity tennis and basketball, and I remember those zone experiences. And maybe my whole life, I only really felt like I was truly in the zone maybe 5 times, something like that. Wouldn't it be so exciting to have this happen more and more often?
Yeah. And it wouldn't be random. You'd know how to get in the zone and be at the top of your game. And you would just do it because that's where you are.